I've heard you talk about parents' rights to raise their kids how they want. In fact, I just double checked. You voted no on making it illegal for kids to be married to adults at the age of 12 if their parents consented to it. You said actually that should be the law because it's the parents' right and the kids' right to decide what's best for them to be raped by an adult. Okay?
Do you know any kids who have been
With
married
marriage.
at age 12?
That was the law.
you know
You
any
voted
kids-
not to change it.
Do you know any kids who have been married at age 12?
I don't need to.
I do. And guess what? They're still married.
Gentlemen.
Missouri State Senator Mike Moon there. Maybe you guys have seen that video making the rounds. He's the one talking about in support of this possibility of allowing 12-year-olds to be married off. As he's been catching this heat, he has had some things to say, which we'll get to in a second. But this exchange was talking about parental rights. And, you know, obviously many of these Republican legislators are against any of these parental rights and also these conversations in life that they share with these children when it comes to trans rights and things along that nature. But then when it comes to marrying off a 12-year-old, have at it, because he's seen these successful marriages plenty of times. But still, back in 2018, Moon voted against this bill that would raise the state's marriage age from 15 to 16. And also he cited about that whole thing with that couple that was married at 12, and they're doing just fine now. But as all of the accusations came down about how he's this supporter of child molestation and marrying off children and things like that, he finally had to respond. Here's his clarification that's going to clear this whole thing up for you guys, so stop worrying. Watch.
For this legislative session, my number one priority has been to protect children from the radical gender confusion plaguing our nation. Democrats are desperately trying to discredit my name and reputation to keep this important legislation from passing in Missouri. The latest attack came from an edited viral video of a remark I made in a House committee hearing. Let me set the record straight. I do not support adults marrying minors. In fact, if there's an instance in which an adult has recently married a minor in this state of Missouri, I'll make it a priority to remove and prohibit adults from marrying minors. As I contemplated the bill, I was reminded of a couple I'd met years before. When this couple was in their teens, actually preteens, they took actions that resulted in the girl becoming pregnant. The youngster's parents decided to allow the children to marry. They weren't forced. However, because they were not mature and could not provide for themselves, they grew up with their families in different states. After a number of years, when the children became adults and were able to care for themselves, they began to living together. The couple is still married today. So with this in mind, and because allowances for these extreme exceptions were not included in the language, I voted against the bill. Tragic circumstances such as these can only be overcome through one avenue: the grace and mercy of God.
Oh, and he continued on from that point on to talk about Bible verses and scriptures and prayer and how we need to go to this direction and that direction and the fourth direction when it comes to this bill in the United States of America that's supposed to not be about your specific religious beliefs. But what are we talking about? This is a Republican in the middle of the country. That's definitely not going to be a problem. I want to go over some of the things that he did say there. He said he doesn't support, if you have to say the line, I do not support adults marrying minors, that means you might want to try and figure out a different way to come with some of these bills and the things that you're arguing for, because that's what it sounds like anytime you're allowing these types of marriages. And he gives this very specific example of a couple of preteens that did some kind of action that I can't mention that resulted in the pregnancy of the girl. Can't say what that is because that's too taboo. Nobody knows what that is. But still, he gives that story as the reasons why, and as if that's a story that's super, super rare, and that there's other preteens or teenagers that haven't gotten pregnant, and they've had to go along with whatever's happening in their lives. But for some reason, marriage solves all. And that's when the scriptures started getting recited in this whole thing. So, Jeff, I'm not sure if this is a win for him, but the clarification that I think I will take from him, he's not in support of at least adults marrying 12-year-olds. He's just maybe in support of maybe her 15-year-old boyfriend marrying her after getting her pregnant.
Well, he says he isn't for that, but the state of Missouri definitely is. From the Riverfront Times, the Post-Dispatch reported in 2017 that 7,342 teens under 18 were married in Missouri from 2000 to 2014. 85% of them were girls. According to the research, 52 Missouri girls under 15 were married in 2007. 1/3 of those marriages feature grooms in their 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s. So, as you just alluded to, yeah, he had to come out and say that he was not in support of something that his state very much is in support of. This is what they do. I'm not trying, sorry for Missouri, especially St. Louis, the broad sweeping brush that I just came up with. Look what I'm doing with my hands. See what I got going on here. I apologize for that. But this is clearly something that's a part of the overall tenor and culture in Missouri. So the fact that like this needs to be discussed anyway from that political party. So there's that.
Well, yeah. And then so if someone then asks them about that aspect, the next question has to be asked, so are you in support of it, and are you okay with your bill then allowing these types of things to happen? Because you cannot be in support of anything things all you want, but then when you're putting forward legislation that affects everyone, this ain't just about you, bro. It's not just about you. I've got this one anecdotal story of these two kids that are okay now, and again, that's based off of what he's saying. Are you in their house every night? Whatever. It's too intrusive on the whole process. But again, has nothing to do with them either. Has to do with himself.